Hey guys, I'm Katie Room from Prairie Epsis Press,
And I'm David Room.
and we're gonna do a chill stream. Bit of a weird day for us, but we were thinking it would be fun thing to do tonight. We will be opening bags 24 and 25 simultaneously. To begin today, we are doing this large middle part in this book. We just started it last chill stream. And we have the ring light on over the table for the first time. So let us know if that seems to help. Because otherwise, it's a kind of a light in the background behind us. So
I think that should help it resolve more detail.
I hope so.
So we'll see, I guess.
And I can increase its brightness too. All right. And I think the yeah, okay. Not gonna worry about it. This bag has a hole in the corner. I found these pieces, but if we are missing others,
Okay.
I'll dig around at the bottom of the box some more. Try and
With the mic muted. So loud.
Okay.
So we're supposed to open 24 and 25 at the same time.
Yeah.
This is like open too.
Huh.
It's funny.
Cheap plastic.
The set of legs.
And here's a head.
I think this is just a generic elf. Right?
I think so.
It's not Elrond.
Well, it doesn't have those dumb little knots on the side of his head, so.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
Could you make your screen just a little bit brighter?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, Michael Caine.
So I can tell a little bit better. I don't want to share that on my computer too. I'd rather see the...
Yeah, I understand. Very nice.
All right.
Maybe it is supposed to. Oh, gosh. I'm already starting. Maybe it is supposed to be him. He's got that little eyebrow raise.
Yeah, maybe. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I don't think there's anything on our side that would be making low resolution video. I've got it up on YouTube and I can go up to 720p and it looks good.
Okay.
So All right. Should we get some of these?
Yeah.
Start getting some of these sorted. So looks like now we're starting to extend pieces off of this.
So today I did that post a picture of yourself as the hero, and I chose Pippin. And the more I thought of it, the more apt it felt like it was. And one thing was dropping things.
Okay, the resolution issue cleared up on his side, so that's
okay, good. Great.
Okay. You want to do this next page here?
Sure.
Let's move the pieces up, and then there's room for the manual thing in the center.
Okay.
Let's go like this, maybe. This is kind of a big build, so it takes up a lot of space on the table at this stage.
Yeah. Oh.
It might be better just to pick it up because the table is bendy.
Sure. I do not trust myself.
Well, here, I'll show you. So just try to line it up first and then push on one side first before the other. I think that'll work pretty well.
Yep. I don't think I can do that without breaking things.
Okay. All right. Why don't you do this next page then? Did you do?
I did this one.
And you did that.
Yep.
Piece. Okay. Yeah. There's enough flex in this that
I think it will be fine.
Stuff will bounce around if you don't line it up right.
Yeah. I understand that, and I'll be careful as I'm pushing on things.
There's always different challenges that come with Lego when builds get bigger, especially when you're building on something that isn't just
Perfectly
solid as a
level.
rock. I used to build on cookie sheets when I was a kid, so I could have all the pieces and they wouldn't get on the floor. But cookie sheets will sometimes kind of flex in the middle, you know.
Yeah.
So if you're building something with big plates, it would kind of bounce a little bit.
Okay. All right. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I was always worried as a kid about losing pieces and pieces getting vacuumed up and stuff. So I liked to be careful. And then if you're building something over a couple days too, then everything is contained. Oh, and this is a gray one. I'll start this.
Sounds good.
Okay, so this. So it looks like here we're building a piece of terrain that'll maybe go across the front or side or something.
Oh yeah.
This is obviously a outside edge.
Nice. So maybe along here, sort of climbing up.
Yeah. Let's see. little bit.
So you had the day off yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you work on?
Oh, I just was working on my game project.
What was that? The elevator?
Yeah. So I'm building out the different parts of the carrier, which is the sort of in between missions area. A lot of these space combat games, they have a between missions area where you can like go to different rooms and do different things. So I've had different pieces of that built since about this time last year is when I started working on that. But I got further with it by making another room the past week or so, and then I realized, okay, I don't have enough room on the screen for buttons to go to all of the different locations from the hangar. So I made an elevator location that you can go to any room from, and so I got that going, which doesn't sound like a lot of work, but I did the mode as well as the modeling for it, which ended up being more than just one elevator. I actually took it as an opportunity to build actual elevator kind of interiors in some doorway cutouts that you see in different parts of the ship.
Cool.
And then while I was doing that, I uncovered what I thought was maybe a shader bug, but it's just a simple issue that I always forget about. So I was debugging that for a while, and then later in the evening, I just did a whole bunch of code-based cleanup, because as you refactor things in work, you don't clean things up, and then it gets to be a mess. And I found a new tool for analyzing code that's way, way faster than the traditional one people use for Python. So I was able to use that to iterate really quickly on code cleanup. So that was fun. Next step is going to be some different tools so that I can sort of capture better screenshots and images of certain parts of the game. Then I need to hit the low poly face modeling that I was doing again, because there's some specific functionality I want to build there. And there's only really a couple of gameplay modes left, and I have a lot of ships, so I could probably start building the actual missions and cutscenes and things like that. So that's something that I'll be working on, or starting to work on really soon.
I think
That'll
I may
be
have
fun.
found a piece that might be missing.
Oh, the big plate?
No, it's this 2x4 flat.
Oh yeah,
in tan.
I don't see that.
Should I mute my mic?
Yeah.
Sorry guys, we'll be right back. There we go.
Skunk's Workshop has some commentary about programming. Code works. Why? Code doesn't work. Why? That's a good question.
Where was I?
I'm getting to the point, because I've been using Python, personally and professionally for about 10 years at this point, that I don't usually have too many questions about the language itself. It's more, specific libraries or things that I'm using. And because I've only been doing game development for a couple of years, there's still a lot of, I think, things that are kind of simple that I run into with rendering and things like that always trip me up. You can take his post down. And the thing that I ran into was I added this geometry for the interior of the elevators, and the floors were like flickering and stuff, and it looked kind of like maybe it was Z fighting or something. And then I realized that I had a point light that was at the exact same horizontal level as the floors. So when you have different types of lights at different angles or positions relative to different surfaces, you get this kind of like you get these singularities basically, and you get things like that happening. So all I had to do was nudge the light up, and then I ended up experimenting with putting the light in a different spot. So just little stuff like that I always run into. I think there's some bug because I have this kind of hacked together shader that I wrote myself, and some of it I'm got a pretty good understanding of what it's doing, and some of it I don't. Yeah, it really trips me up sometimes.
Skunk's Workshop says he's working on a player controller.
Oh, nice. Like an AI controller, like for the CPU, or like an interface so that a player can control the game.
Yeah, I was telling you that yesterday I got 2 articles up.
Mm-hmm.
One review. Oh no. And then one list of my like Halloween reads that I've reviewed. And Arlo Point did one as well and had an image version of it that he put under my Twitter post. And there was a lot of overlap, right? We've run in the same sort of indie circles, but he had chosen a couple that I had reviewed that I hadn't picked as Halloween reads, so that was fun, kind of interesting.
Nice.
And then of course there was stuff that I hadn't read yet.
Like what?
Chalk, his book Chalk.
Recommend your own book. Classic. I noticed you didn't include my book in your list of Halloween books. That's fine. I didn't really want you to.
I don't think I did any real sci-fi at all, actually. there's horror elements, right? For sure. But it's not, but it isn't what I think of when I think of Halloween, I guess. I don't know.
It takes place in September and October even.
It does?
Yes.
Do they have Halloween in space?
No, they don't. I mean, it doesn't take place at Halloween. It takes place at the end of September and beginning of October.
Yeah, I know. You said that.
Okay. There we go. So let's catch up in the chat. He says AI is done actually, but a 2D controller for side scroll game. Nice.
Nice. Hi to Doug Wise. And no, yeah, I didn't include any sci-fi. Is that weird? Do other people
it's fine.
expect
You
that?
should do whatever you want.
Well, I don't know. It's not that I'm saying don't read sci-fi, right? If that's what you're feeling for Halloween, go for it. It's not how. Oops, not that one.
I don't know if I usually feel like reading or enjoying spooky stuff in October. To me, fall is kind of a different season than Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did include Rachel Griffin because like that's what I feel like reading.
Well, going back to school.
Yeah. Yep.
I always think of I kind of think of romance in the fall too.
Sure. Yeah.
To me, fall seems like kind of like a good season for romance.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of associate that with going back to school and meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Michael Caine points out that Lord of the Rings is a fall book. And that is definitely true.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I'm not sure if I thought about it specifically, but if I didn't, it would have been something that I would consider to be like sort of a meaningful coincidence that my book is set in fall with Fellowship of the Ring set in fall.
Sure.
Because it's just a good time to start a book that is about going on a journey and stuff like that. And I base my tools for rendering timelines on how those timelines are done in Lord of the Rings. So a long time, like in the appendices of Fellowship of the Ring. So a long time before writing my book, I had the timeline of the main events of my book in a form that I was comparing to the appendices in Lord of the Rings and looking at it. So kind of events kicking off in September and sort of the fall season is appropriate.
There we go.
Okay. Let me just
thank you.
This up.
I appreciate it. Want to do some plates?
Sure. I can work on that. Anne's got a nice comment about fall.
And it says, hey y'all, I always listen to Edith Piaf and French cafe music in the fall. Something romantic, tragic, and warm all at once. To build on David's point, not just oversharing. Michael Caine says he's reading Till We Have Faces. And there's a scene in autumn, but it's not really a fall book.
I'm on the wrong page here.
Did I put you on the wrong page?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just was looking across. Okay, so they make a point of this piece goes here.
Don't forget this tiny little green one.
It's to space this out.
It has nothing to do with anything. It's not going to be visible.
We'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's to space this out. So you're not like... That's why they do all the different colors, you know, so that your eye can track what goes where.
Right. So
should be another one of these.
There were 2 of them in a row. I had 2. Oh no, I didn't have 2 lined
Did you stick one down
here?
No. So there, you said there were?
I'm taking back my words. Are you sure? It's not, but it's 2 of these ones?
Yep, because they go across here. Sorry, guys.
What, the bag was open in the box, so I picked it up the other day and I stuck it in with the plates.
There we go. Okay. Whew. Drink with Crazy is here. Hey.
Oh, hi. Hope your stream went well. I checked in, but I wasn't able to stick around.
I don't know if we ever really stream on a Wednesday. Maybe we have once or twice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun seeing if we get a different crowd.
Yeah. Michael Caine says Till We Have Faces is just Lewis being dark and pagan and Christian all at once.
I've not read Till We Have Faces. For Lewis, I've read Chronicles of Narnia, of course, Four Loves, Screwtape Letters, and the first book of the Space Trilogy I read a long time ago. And I've been meaning to read the Space Trilogy again because people just talk about it constantly.
Yeah, me too.
But I've not gotten around to it. I didn't really like it when I read it. I think I was like maybe in high school when I read it. And generally the stuff that I liked as a kid is the stuff that I still like now.
I think it's, for some reason, it's come back into the modern conscious. Like I didn't hear anything about it for ages, but lately it seems like everybody's talking about it.
I think it's just one of those things that is kind of an algorithm amplified meme thing, you know.
Yeah, could be.
Almost like it is talked about because it's not super popular. It's like one of those things that people think is kind of like a secret.
Yeah.
Oh, did you know C.S. Lewis wrote a science fiction trilogy? What? And it has insightful allegory for today's stupid world. What?
Anne says classics have fashions as well as new books. You almost never hear about Ivanhoe anymore, and that used to be a big one.
Well, that's because Ivanhoe sucks.
I love Ivanhoe.
What's her face? Rebecca the Jew and her heaving bosom. And then the character that's suspiciously like Robin Hood the whole book. And at the end he's like, haha, I'm Robin Hood. You might not have realized it, but I'm actually Robin Hood. And this guy who is suspiciously like Little John is Little John. Anne's mad at me.
I thought it was great. I enjoyed it.
Something I heard, which I'm not sure if it's true or not, is that Sir Walter Scott basically made up the whole tartan plaid kilt thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he wrote a bunch of other historical novels, and I guess that wasn't really a thing, and he just wrote it in one of his books, and it's kind of a
just became history.
Yeah.
Is this... Am I off here? I'm off. I'm off somehow. No, I'm not off.
I honestly don't remember a ton about Ivanhoe. I read it in high school as part of a English lit class.
That's what it is. Okay.
And I don't honestly remember too much about it.
I liked it a lot. I had fun with it. It was one of those ones where you realize you've been assigned to read something in school and you actually like it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's probably not a terrible book. There were other books in that English lit class. She's got another comment that you can bring up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I liked a lot better. Sorry. We read, I think in that same course, I read Pride and Prejudice. What's the other one? The Bronte one. Jane Eyre.
Oh.
A bunch of other stuff too. Sherlock Holmes and Dorothy Sayers and Father Brown and
makes sense.
Stuff like that. I feel like Ivanhoe is just one of those historical novels that kind of ramble about sort of being historical at some points. and I know that's just how they were written, but I think modern books are sort of tighter.
Yeah.
Like other books that do this, right? Uncle Tom's Cabin just will go off on tangents about stuff. Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates. The main plot of that book is really compelling, but then there's this 5-chapter detour that's just about these boys going on a tour of Holland that has nothing to do with the main character.
Yuck.
And it's kind of awkward.
Isn't Les Mis kind of like that too? I've never read it. Well, I tried. I attempted. But my impression of the beginning is very, very little plot and very, very much architecture and politics.
Mm-hmm.
And people being sad and depressing. And so A Drink with Crazy says, who is Ivanhoe? And Anne says, Ivanhoe is a rollicking tale of a disinherited knight who comes back after the Crusades. King Richard, Robin Hood, castles on fire, jousts, all of it.
Mm-hmm. It's basically the Disney Robin Hood. Except Robin Hood isn't the main character. It's
yep.
It's a different
knight.
Oh, this is cool. So we're covering this up, but there's this little
archway that kinda
archway
shields
stuff underneath there.
it. Nice. Kiko Man, hi, thank you for joining us.
Oh.
Says, other than basic arithmetic and basic English, how well did school serve you?
Well, both of us were homeschooled, so
Yep.
it was actually probably pretty useful. I still think that there was kind of a lot of wasted time, which is not really my parents' fault, but they were trying to, especially for high school, they were trying to follow the credit requirements of our local high school so that we wouldn't have any issues getting into college. And it just ended. I think it ended up being a lot of kind of unnecessary work.
I filled in a lot of circles about how I spent my time.
Yeah, and my mom was really worried that we would, get to college and not be able to write. But there were basically intro to writing courses that you had to take, and I think I only ever wrote one paper that was longer than 10 pages in college, and it really wasn't a huge deal. I'm not saying that what we didn't prepare us but it. I think she was more worried about it than she had to be.
Mm-hmm. I tested out of that basic writing course. And did it help me graduate earlier? No, I just tested out of it. Missed all of the people.
How did you test out of it with AP? AP test?
CLEP.
Oh, CLEP. Yeah, I didn't do CLEP.
It was all the rage.
Yeah, I remember other homeschoolers talking about that, and it's like, if you're intelligent in how you plan your courses, there's enough time to do everything. Mm-hmm. I think it probably was a help to people who couldn't be bothered to actually figure out how to fit stuff into their schedule and not just take random courses when their advisor is zero help, which is how college is. But
my advisor. Oh, wow. Glad that's over.
Oh, nice. Drink with Crazy had to write 500-word essays, write, not print, when he was in 4th grade. And it was graded on penmanship, grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. I don't know if I had to write stuff that long when I was in 4th grade, but definitely had to write paragraphs and write little reports and stuff all the way through.
My dad's a 5th grade teacher, and he does 5-paragraph essays. And he has received feedback from his students. There's a lot of them that are adults now. He's been teaching at the same location for over 30 years.
Drink with Crazy says he can't print to this day because once they learned how to write cursive, they weren't allowed to print anymore.
Yeah, isn't that the stupidest thing?
I was really anxious to learn how to write cursive because I thought it was really cool looking. It's like when you're a little kid, it's like whatever people are doing a couple grades ahead, you want to learn how to do it. Right. And then I learned how to do it, and I think I have very good penmanship to this day. Well, I don't know how much you've seen of my cursive writing because I never write it. Okay. But I don't like reading cursive, so I'm not gonna write it myself for things that I want to read. And I think I do have pretty good printing. So like I like the way my printing looks better than I like the way my cursive looks, and I think my cursive is pretty good, so I never write cursive.
I don't like my cursive. I feel like it looks like 5th grade me. You know how when you see pictures of your hair in 5th grade? That's what my cursive feels like.
Probably the key would be to do it a little bit sloppier.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I think it's back to you.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
This we probably just goes here, and we forgot at some point.
Yes, yep.
And that's an extra one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You have all the bags. So.
All right.
Yeah, my current cursive philosophy, looking forward to teaching my kids, is that printing should be emphasized through elementary school, and then cursive as like an art type thing, a penmanship type.
I don't know.
I know. It's just I think as someone who had to read a lot of other people's crappy handwriting, I would like my children to be able to print.
Oh yeah, I think printing is. I think the important thing is writing legibly, whether it's print or cursive. And I just, in my opinion, I could see maybe writing cursive for speed, but it's just inherently less legible than print.
Right.
And that's a fact. That's not like a personal preference. That's literally a fact.
Yes.
It's cursive is designed for, is intended for speed.
Mm-hmm. Anne says my penmanship still stinks, written or printed. It's particularly frustrating to me because I am trying to do scrapbooking like my mom did, but she has beautiful cursive, and I feel when I go to do my journaling portion of the scrapbook that I'm just facing everything that I've done, no matter whether it's print or cursive.
Just do it on a separate little piece of paper that you could pull up and redo.
Yeah. Drink with Crazy points out that it's supposed to help with dyslexia. Yeah, I can see that. Weighting it down, the letters. That makes sense to me. Kiko Man says that there's studies that show happier people own goats, which is a jab at a Drink with Crazy, whose wife wants a goat. TJ Lombardi, hi. We all right. Just opened bag 26.
Go ahead and start.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna flip all of these. We have all of these little wonderful printed floor tile pieces in this bag, so this is going to be a whole bunch of laying those down. This bag actually might go really fast. Yeah, Cratesbane points out, I wish they would have taught me keyboarding instead of cursive. I even did typing in school, and I don't think I ever really learned how to type until I got on the job. But yeah, that would be it's a useful thing to know. Although I'm guessing, I suppose at this point you might have sort of computer illiterate kids that are just on tablets and stuff all the time, so they never sit in front of actual computers and learn how to type. So that could be a problem now.
I suppose.
Ultimate Kahuna is here too.
Hey, on Cratesbane.
I think we started too early. I think that's the problem.
Maybe. We usually don't start till...
Was a Drink with Crazy streaming?
I checked. Supposedly, he was done.
Supposedly?
Well, I looked and it said done 8 minutes ago.
Okay.
When we started, I mean. I thought that would explain things. So just watch how we line them up so that they match their orientation. So that it's never orange by orange.
Yep, the orange goes diagonally this way.
Yeah. And I tried to do it exactly the way that they show it in the picture.
Ultimate Kahuna says he learned cursive and typing.
Well, yeah, I did too. Yep. I remember going to the computer lab, but also being forced to write papers in cursive. I do recall that. Okay. I'm just putting 8 of these. 2.
Ultimate Kuna says he thought the typing class was useless and frustrating at the time, but thank Christ I took it. Okay, Drink with Crazy is heading out. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you so much. There it is. Okay. And last one. 8. Okay. Over to you, my love.
Okay.
AS Brunert is here. Thank you for coming. We were just talking about penmanship, cursive and typing, and
whether school was useful.
Whether school was useful at all. Wait a minute. Ultimate Kahuna, didn't you just get your first computer?
He didn't get his first computer. He got a computer.
I thought he said for the first time.
For the first time he was building a computer.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
That makes sense. That makes way more sense.
Or a new computer. Like
yeah.
Is getting or building a new computer.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody has a computer.
Everybody that's why I was You guys, I didn't sleep well last night, so if I'm not all there.
I think that's that page.
They make it hard to see.
This is a really interesting stuff going on here. You can see it's the bottom of let's see if we can get some of this glare off of it. Maybe we've got to move this, but no, I think we're just stuck with that glare.
Sorry, guys.
Maybe. Oh, here. I'll hold
here,
it up.
I can.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting. Let's sort of bring it back on the table. Interesting section here because there's a lot of. I think it's the base of some structure that's going to go here. Let's see here.
It's kind of interesting thinking about homeschooling and what was useful in school versus what do you wish you could just
forget.
Yeah. See, I was right. He says, no, I've never owned a computer of my own. I've had access to computers.
Okay.
I've never owned one myself.
Okay. Well, there's a first time for everything, I guess. That's fun getting a computer of your own for the first time, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first computer I got when I was maybe about that I owned myself. I think I got maybe when I was about 14 or 15. I bought it from my friend. It's this really old laptop. It was old when I got it. It's from about 1994. And it was fun because, it's like you don't have to ask your dad's permission to install anything on it anymore. And I also I did a lot of stuff to that computer to make it my own. It had Windows 95 on it, but a virus had screwed up the registry so it wouldn't boot. So I just used it in DOS mode.
Hey, look at who's here.
Woohoo.
The Free Narnian.
Oh, nice.
Happy Wednesday evening, gamers.
It's a bit of an odd day for us, but we're here for it. Right?
The rest of the week is going to be shot, so now or never.
Yeah, tomorrow's the book club stream at 7:30. So it was either tonight or not.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be out of town this weekend, so no Saturday live streams or anything.
All right, Free Narnian, how
How's your penmanship?
Yep.
My penmanship? I'm sorry, I was just gonna say I don't know what we're talking about. I just kind of I don't I print pretty neatly, if I do say so.
Nice.
I have fairly good printing, but yeah, my penmanship in terms of like actual handwriting is almost non-existent because I never I mean I never had to. I was taught it in school though, unlike a lot of people. I think around my age. We spent, I think it was 5th or 4th grade. We had a whole thing teaching cursive.
Yeah, I remember it in 4th myself. Babe, you finished
Yeah.
this page? Am I supposed to turn
I
it?
believe so.
Yes, okay.
I mean, literally from then on, I only ever used handwriting for my own signature and nothing else. So, it's like a muscle. Right? If you don't use it, it
Right.
disappears.
David's great aunt?
She's like my dad's cousin, so I think it's like
Oh,
first cousin once removed, or yeah.
she was a teacher, 3rd grade.
Yep.
And when she would send birthday cards, she would write in them. And whether it was print or cursive, it looked like, whoops, went too far there. It looked like, no, I didn't. Wait a minute, where am I? Yeah.
How do you make a cursive capital D? I forget all the capitals.
It's I think it's straight down and then up like that.
Yeah.
Straight down and then up and around.
From the top down and then loop towards the bottom. Like.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yes.
I can't remember any of the capitals.
Some of them are really awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't say that really it's kind of superfluous with the advent of like modern ballpoint pens.
Yeah. I
I
wrote
remember-
two M's.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I remember reading that somewhere that actually like, cursive was efficient for the way things were written once upon a time, but
When you
Just-
needed to write things
yeah.
quickly, but
But
then.
I mean, yeah, you think about so much stuff is in print, like in
Hmm.
terms of official documents and stuff. Like,
Yes.
it makes sense for people to write print by hand as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what I was saying about David's relative, it looked like it was font, a printed computer font.
Yep.
Every time. It was scarily consistent. The kerning,
Yeah.
like
Then just the letter widths were perfect.
perfect. Perfect. There it is. Okay. I think I did all that. These printed tiles make it hard to see what you're doing. Ooh, I'm making a star. This is fun.
Oh, fancy.
Let's see. First, I've got to.
Elves and their stars. Eldar. That's one of the more my favorite bits of Warhammer 40k is because Games Workshop is famous for ripping other people off, but where they just brazenly took the word Eldar straight out of Tolkien
Oh,
and
yeah.
applied it to their own space elves, like just. They're like, what should we call our star elves? And they're like, what does Tolkien write about? For like, let's just use his word.
Michael Caine head out.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm gonna feel better here.
Lots of fun chat in the chat.
Fun chat in the chat.
Yep.
I have no idea what the context is, but here's my latest stealing forget everything.
Possibly in relation to Games Workshop.
That's right.
Yeah.
Warhammer stole everything. Are we so now the question to us that has been handed to us is, are we brave enough to steal from Warhammer? This is deep questions this night. I'm sorry, I'm tired, guys.
I've still done it wrong. Daggone it. This star is giving me troubles.
I feel like a lot of tabletop games just stole blatantly, though. You know, I don't think that's just a Warhammer.
Yeah, well,
thing.
games generally tend to be more liberal. You know, Fallout is another famous franchise that has borrowed a lot of its visual motif from other properties.
That. And then this goes here. And that goes there. Okay. All right. So this is kind of cool how they have these studs here and they match the grid colors, which would only match up if you were careful to match up the grid.
Kikomon, have you never seen the Lego brick separator before?
You get one in pretty much. I have a million of these.
Yeah, in most big, decent sized Lego sets, they come with these nowadays.
Yeah, they're very handy.
I had one as a kid that was a little bit bigger and sturdier, but it had the same kind of thing at the end. This one is nice because it also has sort of like a little soft wedge at the back, and then there's a little Technic pin for popping stuff out of Technic pieces too.
And I need it all the time. Anne said, "Be the thievery you would need to see in the world."
They stole Alien from Tolkien from Michael Moorcock.
They stole
I think.
Famously, because Michael Moorcock actually, he was order versus chaos is a huge motif with his books. So yeah, they really lifted from him big time with that. But you know what? So did Dungeons and Dragons by that standard, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, isn't there like people talk about Vancian magic? Isn't that also like Jack Vance has some kind of magic system that a lot of people copied?
Yes, Jack Vance. Yeah, that's Dungeons and Dragons comes from Jack Vance, and also when I learned about Jack Vance, I'm like, oh hey, this is RuneScape's magic system. There's literally a whole quest in RuneScape that is all like it's based in this idea that people keep attributing to Jack Vance. I'm like, oh, that's neat. The idea that like it's this vanishing rare technology or kind of technology. I don't know. I've never read Jack Vance, so I can't speak to it specifically. But like the idea that like magic, there was like a high age of magic, and like what we can do now is just what's left over from this previous era. And so like we have to go into like a ruin or something and find a spell tome or
I mean that's a very common idea now. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it was more unique when he was writing. It seems like, well, yeah, magic is old. It's gone. It's mostly gone from the world. We have to get like, I don't know.
But yeah, no, it's cool. I'm like, this is the Rune Mysteries quest. Those of you who play RuneScape or did play RuneScape know what I'm talking about. That's
I never did play RuneScape, but I enjoy all your RuneScape posting.
Thank you. I enjoy RuneScape posting. It's a lingua franca for those of us of a certain generation, I feel.
Elder Zoomers.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Are we the young millennials or old Zoomers? I don't know. It's very ambiguous.
the geriatric Zoomers.
Yes, that's us. I am what I am. I don't deny it. But yes, we played RuneScape a lot, and so everyone knows the art style and like the music and the like noob I own you. I guess that was kind of common in lead speak generally, but like you know,
Mm-hmm.
anyone who played RuneScape knows what I mean when I say you want to 1v1 me in Wildy.
RuneScape was free to play, right?
It was. There was a free to play version and then there was a subscription based version.
Okay.
The paid version gave you a much bigger world and more quests and like a higher level cap and just kind it was like the same game but bigger.
Yeah.
But the core of the game, like you could get a whole lot out of the free version of the game, which many people did.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Kikomon. It's nice to see you in the chat.
Yeah, before he took off, he said, "Use your nails."
yeah, I saw that. I haven't seen a Lego set in 20 years.
Skunk Workshops asks if you played DAOC.
I don't recognize that acronym, so no, I'm afraid not.
Dark Age of Camelot?
Oh, I've heard of that, but no, I didn't play it. I was into MMOs for a while. One thing that I regret that I missed out on was Warhammer Online. That looked like a great game. If you're a Warhammer fan.
I never played MMOs. We only had dial-up internet until I was like in college. So I never was really able to do that. And I don't know. Single player video games are kind of more my thing anyway.
Yeah. I definitely feel that now.
I always thought it would be fun, once I was in college or maybe out of college and like had a nice computer and stuff to maybe try some MMOs, but I just never. I think I downloaded Lord of the Rings online at one point, but I never got into it.
Yeah, I tried Lord of the Rings online a few years ago, and I had a blast with it. I had a bard in Bree, and a cool thing about that game is that it had this system where I don't even remember how it worked exactly, but you had the system where you could upload you could translate musical melodies, your own musical melodies into the game files. So like my bard character I had playing like Christmas hymns.
Oh, nice.
Those are at Christmas time, and like I found the translated sheets for these different carols, and it was great. It was really cool. But yeah, I'm like, man, the thing with MMOs, man, is that like the barrier to entry is pretty steep. If you're not used to playing them, like I can slip back into RuneScape anytime, but like I joked about once before that like I'm gonna reinstall EverQuest, and then like I put it up and I just look at this interface. I'm like, I can't learn this game. Are you kidding me? I have like a life. I have a job. Like I can't. Like there's just no time for me to do anything, right? Like if you know the game, then you know the game. But
DJ Lombardi asked, "What is an item you would like to see Lego make?"
Spawn.
You can imagine a little Spawn.
I really, 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 really want Lego Spawn. It's never going to happen. Not in a million years, but I really, really want it. You can buy bootleg Lego Spawn minifigures and they look awesome. Like I don't like bootleg Lego stuff, but that might be one thing that I would buy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
A.S. Brunert said anything from a Lloyd Alexander novel.
Ah, that's a good.
Yeah, that'd be good. I was gonna say Lego Narnia.
Sure.
It could work if
TJ likes your answer.
Yeah. The yeah, that they just showed a Lego Dune ornithopter, which looks really
No.
cool.
Lego Dune?
Yeah.
Of course,
with
it's IP.
with the movie. They do tons of licensed stuff nowadays. And Pink of Us says Dune, replying to Crate Spain, Dune stuff. He said Dune stuff is beyond his comprehension. She says like Lovecraft. That's actually another really cool thing that Lego can make would be Lego HP Lovecraft stuff. That would be awesome.
They could.
Like a
'Cause
Dark Souls set.
Oh yeah, Lego Dark Souls would be kick ass. I would love, or Bloodborne. Yeah, Lego Bloodborne. I would. That would be a instant take my money. They did a really nice Lego Horizon Zero Dawn set, so it's not out of the question that they could do something like if there was like another PlayStation exclusive like Bloodborne sequel or something.
Yeah.
I could see them doing a set.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
You know, Command and Conquer has some pretty cool vehicles that would make cool Lego stuff.
What would be cool would be a Command and Conquer like micro builds. So not minifigure scale, but like little. I always picture the things in RTS as being like about the size they are on the monitor. So like little vehicles and buildings and stuff that are all about this big, made out of Lego. That would be fun.
That'd be fun.
Lego Doom guy, yeah, Lego Doom. That would be sweet. Also, never gonna happen in a million years.
But... Lego Wolfenstein. While we're at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Super appropriate.
Yeah, a Lego Castle Wolfenstein would be. That would be great. That will never happen ever.
Lego Mecha Hitler.
Yes. Because I mean, you could swap out the symbol for the Wolfenstein symbol. That's what they do in like the actual German versions of the game. So that's how you could get around that. But yeah, I don't know how you put in AH in his mecha suit.
What would be really cool is for like a Wolfenstein set is you could have the figures and then you could do a layout that's all like the square sort of blocks, kind of like they do with Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
So you could have them be like 6x6 blocks with the little walls and stuff, so you could build a blocky level. That would be really cool.
I think I'm supposed to put gold here. It's hard to tell. It looks like the same color on the page as the...
Oh, I think that's supposed to be gold.
Oh yeah, it's got a shine to it in the box. It looks like exactly the same.
Castlevania, yeah, that would be cool.
Oh
yeah. Crate Spade, I see you say, yeah, I should get into 3D printing.
Yeah. I've been admiring Crate Spain's 3D printing stuff. I've got an FDM printer, so I can't do stuff that fine detail. But
I don't know the first thing about 3D printing.
I've got some 3D printing stuff in the works. I was spending some time on it at the beginning of the year, and then I kind of crapped out on it, but it's in the pipeline.
I got those. I bought that. It's like not even having to do with your project.
Yeah.
But I got that.
Those metal holders.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a bunch of designs that I need to print. But
sorry.
I've got stuff in the works to make some of my own stuff. And I solved the technical issues that I was running into with that originally. So just like everything else.
I bought this 3D printed hexagon display for my Lord of the Rings, the Conqueror medals.
Ooh.
And it's really great. You can see the ribbon behind it too. Some of the displays don't show the ribbons, and the ribbons are gorgeous. But I only bought one because they also sold the what do they call it?
Like a STL file, or just the digital.
So I bought the one to see how it would look, and then I bought the file.
Yeah.
So,
We have like I did a lot of research on 3D printers, and we have an FDM printer, but it's like quite a nice one, so it should easily be able to print stuff like that.
So I'm excited to hang those probably somewhere on the wall behind me, just to show my nerdiness, you know.
Lego Metroid would be cool. Like, there's a few set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Lego Chozo Temple.
Great Spain says the monkey paw closes. Netflix Castlevania.
Oh no! You know that is like that's like a periapsis like special, because that show has like all of the tropes that like this entire project is dedicated against. Right, like they have like Dracula is really if I remember correctly, like Dracula they turn into like he's just misunderstood.
Yep.
I'm not evil, I'm just misunderstood. There's like demons ripping apart women trying to hide their children from like it's just absurd. What a joke. Like Castlevania, how do you screw that up? It's the most straightforward premise ever.
Oh.
It's like, how do you screw it up? It's like people were talking about the Doom books the other day. It's like, how did they screw up Doom? How did they took this very straightforward, easy to understand premise that was like printed in a paragraph in an instruction manual in 1995, and they decided that, you know what, that's not good enough. We're gonna make it that it's actually aliens at war with each other, and they just choose to look like demons because they know that is what would scare us. And it's like, what?
Wait,
That's
what
ridiculous.
are you talking about?
The novelization of the Doom games.
Oh, okay.
Where,
I mean,
where
they were always aliens from another dimension, though.
no, they're demons from hell. In the original Doom, like it's supposed to be that we accidentally opened up hell.
But I mean, what is hell? Right.
All right, here we go. Yeah, when I heard that Netflix was doing Castlevania, I didn't play the original game, and but TJ Marquis' Bloodbane is supposed to be based on it. Vaguely, right?
Really?
It has a very Castlevania vibe to it. And so I just was like, well, there's no way that it's going to be nearly as good as that. And I feel like I should have some context of the original before I go trotting off into Netflix land.
Yeah, Castlevania was such a nice, Dracula is evil. He has an army of monsters. Simon Belmont has a magic whip and holy water, and he's gonna fight his way through the monsters and defeat Dracula and save Europe. Like that's it.
That's it. Good enough.
Yeah, like Dracula, I remember, the Netflix show they made it was, Dracula is really, I don't even remember. He some sort of brooding, sympathetic guy who is in love with like a Wicca woman who is unjustly persecuted, and then so he flies into a rage, and that's why he's doing bad things to people, and that's
a
like
Wicca woman who is unjustly persecuted.
Yeah, that's the premise of the show. I'm saying from the show's perspective.
Right. A witch who was persecuted for being a witch.
Well, yeah, it's hard to say witches are unjustly persecuted when. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm remembering it correctly. She was like a scientist, and so they're persecuting her for they think they're right because they're dumb and they think science is evil magic, and so they kill her. And then Dracula. Yeah, okay. So, but she was already a consort of Dracula. at that point, and he starts out as a vampire. So like I feel like that's kind of a, a some kind of at least a moral crime, right?
Right.
To be friends with a vampire. I mean that at least. I mean, you're not welcome to. You're not going to go camping with me anytime soon. I'll just say that. If you're friends with a vampire, I'm sorry, but like, like is this is this unkind of me to say? I don't. But yeah, I mean, it's absurd. It's such a But it's hard to have situations because there are things, right, where like the setting is like witches are real, but then the show wants you to. It's like so it's hard to set up a situation where witches are unjustly persecuted if you're conceding that witchcraft is in fact a reality, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you could have a world where magic isn't automatically immoral.
Right.
Then witchcraft isn't necessarily a bad thing to do, right?
But well,
Well,
yeah,
I'm
but
like just presuming, our our world paradigm
right.
But I mean,
historical.
if you're talking about like a fantasy story, then that's not something that you
That's true.
are necessarily presuming.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
Cratesbane says, ready that hideous strength. Nope, persecute the scientists too.
Yeah. I think some of the reason that trope is compelling is because you know it's just kind of a compelling idea that you have these people who are kind of operating at the fringes of morality, and you know maybe what they're doing is misunderstood characters are always compelling.
Sure.
And,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can make it really good if you like show that like what they're doing is actually good,
yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
actually helping people, and then they are actually misunderstood. Right? People don't understand that they're actually being helped, and then you
Right.
can have drama come from that.
Very cute.
It's little writing desks.
But I think that sometimes shows like Castlevania, not having seen it, but just theorizing in general here, kind of ask you to sympathize with a character who is generally accepted to be an evil person, right? Like Dracula. Sympathize with him as misunderstood because somebody loves him, right?
Yes.
And it's not really about his actual moral behavior.
Yeah.
But the fact that someone would be sad if he died.
Well,
right?
and it's a trope now to have a sympathetic villain,
Yes.
or and people criticize that, and it is kind of a trope. But I mean, just because there are sympathetic aspects to a character doesn't mean that he has to be not a villain, right? They can still be a villain, but it's just the tension of like, oh, I feel conflicted about this character, or they have good elements to them even though they're evil, like that.
Yeah.
That is compelling in its own way.
Yeah, though that's an important distinction because I think what I don't want to speak for other people, but I think when most people kind of complain about that trope, it's not so much like the sympathetic villain as such, but when in the context of the overall show is something that is morally ambiguous, right?
Yeah.
Where like no one is really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like the sympathetic villain is kind of like maybe like a vehicle for it's just a shorthand way of saying that. Same thing with like anti-heroes,
Yep.
right? Like I like anti-heroes as such,
Mm-hmm.
but but sometimes that will be invoked in a work where like well what really is the case is that no one is really a hero or a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Right.
I think that's kind of more of what people are exhausted with.
Mm-hmm.
Cratesbane says, referencing your point about witches, you could have a world where demons aren't immoral at that point. And
Ooh, that's an interesting idea.
I was just well, if that's not an idea you're comfortable with, then
then probably don't read my stuff.
Yeah, there was there's a few examples of that. Of that kind of being played with.
Yeah.
And like not like not even like recent example. I know there's this show that people keep putting on my timeline, and I'm sick of it because I just don't like the art style. But I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Has Been Hotel.
Oh,
I
I've
still
heard
don't
of it.
I don't really understand the premise, so I can't talk about it. But I guess it has something to do with hell and heaven and angels and demons, and it's one of these like I don't know Rick and Morty type shows, and I don't know. I just that seems to kind of be like the morality of a being like that is being discussed in the context of that show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, demons not being necessarily again. This thank you, Cratesbrain, for bringing it up because it allows me to talk about RuneScape again.
Oh,
But,
here we go. Now you've done it.
that was because if you will remember the Christmas event, of the Queen of Snow uses snow imps who are good, even though they are imps. So I don't know, right? They're like chaotic good, right? So like I don't know. So um, there you have it, and they help Santa Claus. So
Anne mentions demons not being necessarily immoral is a very Japanese story element.
Oh.
I would say I would say that that's true because of the translation of a lot of manga and anime using basically their word for like fairies
yeah,
and translating it as demons. But there are a lot of examples of the Christian mythos as well, sort of pre anime in the West, Um,
but well, because like demon,
is that a map?
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
that's amazing. Well, like demon, it's kind of like angel too. Like it's like some people said like that word is the office of the spirit,
Yeah,
right?
it
So
literally
like
means like messenger.
Yeah.
right, yeah. So like the spirit is a spirit. But these other words, angel, demon, are what it does. So I guess like so from that perspective, you could say yeah, you can't have like a good demon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because um, but you could have a spirit that is morally neutral, right? Or
Sure.
Yeah.
you just have to have another word for it, I suppose.
David, do you want to talk a little bit about like kind of how you were thinking about
Yeah.
your characters?
Yeah, so basically the two big influences in my stuff is Japanese RPGs and Frank Peretti's spiritual warfare stuff, but kind of a little bit of a negative influence from Frank Peretti because I don't really like how his spiritual warfare works. So I wanted to do some sort of like, oh, there's this invisible dimension with invisible creatures in it, and kind of my thing is if I'm going to write a story and like just being a Protestant, like I don't feel compelled to sort of draw upon random theology that's not in the Bible.
Sure.
So for example, a lot of Christian fiction about angels and demons, draws upon like Roman Catholic, exorcism practice, right? Or like the Book of Enoch stuff with the Watchers. That's kind of like a common thing, and I just can't be bothered to care about any of that stuff. And I think it's kind of interesting to do stuff that's a little bit outside the norm. So what I did is I kind of thought, okay, so you have these two groups, right? You have angels and you have demons. And there was a choice that was made at one point, but we don't really know that, like, just because demons are fallen, that they can't do good, or we don't know that they can't repent. We don't know if they can't be redeemed. I feel like we have this sort of attitude that like angels are perfect, like because they're in the presence of God, they can't commit sin or whatever. So demons have to be the exact opposite. They just have to be like the most pure evil, like maniacal evil clown, crazy monster, kind of thing. And I just didn't think that that's necessary. So I have demons who are bad guys and demons who are good guys. And there's actually, in my story, there's like this ancient religion, this ancient, there's this ancient evil cult that is kind of like makes all of the big bad guys are from, but one faction of the protagonists, and there's like multiple protagonist factions, is a Christian group that split off from that cult, and actually a bunch of the demons went with them. So this group is basically like this sort of occult Christian. They're Lutheran, so I like to talk about like Lutheran space wizards. They're Lutheran, and there's like a whole bunch of demons basically that are part of their group, and the demons are basically Christians. I don't go into a lot of detail about what their beliefs are in the books, but basically the demons they just basically believe in everything that Christianity and this group's tradition teaches, and they just don't know whether they themselves will be redeemed. Like they don't have any, they're just like, well, we don't know if there's any redemption for us, but we're still trying to do the right thing. Like we've repented of our past actions, and they actually don't remember. In my story, all of the demons kind of they don't really have a clear memory of like what happened before a certain point in time. So they don't like remember the war in heaven or the fall or the flood even or anything. So they're kind of relying, just like we sort of rely on scripture to tell us like what happened. They're kind of relying on that too.
Interesting.
And there aren't really angels in my.
Do they have physical forms?
So the way it works in the story is that there's like this parallel invisible world, and they have forms in that world, and they have forms, and they kind of have a soul that's distinct from that form, just like we have a soul that's distinct, but the soul also lives in that world, and human souls also live in that world. But the interaction between the two worlds is extremely, extremely limited. So like they can't even really like poltergeists aren't a thing. Like you can't have, they're called nomads in my story, the demons. Like nomads can't just like walk around and like knock stuff over. Like they just can't. Like their hands would basically just go right through stuff. So there's certain types of artifacts that you can use to sort of interact across the two dimensions, and then they can interact with life. So they can they can possess people. They can like put thoughts in people's heads. They don't all have the same abilities to do that, but that's kind of where part of that interaction comes from. And then there's different ways that people can see what's going on, and people can wield weapons that basically have the other world is called the ethereal realm or the ethereal plane. And there are certain like weapons that basically have like a physical blade, and they have an ethereal blade that's kind of linked to it. So if you wanted to fight a nomad, you'd have to use one of those weapons. Like you can't shoot at it. You can't, you can't, you couldn't really hurt it with like showing it across or something like that.
Yeah, and obviously this is this is like a fiction idea and a playing around with biblical concepts.
Yeah,
we're not recommending that anybody actually converse with demons under the assumption that they are going to be friendly.
And some of this stuff is kind of close to what I actually believe about how things work, but it's not like, oh, this is how I believe things actually work. It's a story. So I grew up in a pretty conservative Protestant tradition that doesn't do a lot of like spiritual warfare type stuff, and I don't really have firsthand experience of that stuff. So I kind of wanted to write a story where all that stuff is there and it's active, but it's kind of removed from our experience. And the demons, they don't necessarily want to be known. So, like there are a number of artifacts and different ways and methods that people could look and see them. But like if a demon doesn't want to be seen, it just won't. Like, it will just go away if you're a person who has this ability to look into the ethereal world and potentially see one of them. And so if it doesn't want to be seen, it won't. So they're kind of maybe more removed from our everyday experience than they would be like in Frank Peretti's novels, where there's like demons sitting on people's shoulders and dangling their fingers into their brains all the time. In my books, when a nomad shows up and wants to do something bad, they're usually prepared, and it's bad news. Like you don't want to be around that unless you have the right tools too.
Well, that's the end of that bag.
Should we do one more bag and
one
then
more?
Call it good? 27?
27. Yeah, Anne says it's an interesting thing to think about. If angels and demons have a theological framework, which I suppose they must, we wouldn't have any ideas about it. And yet the angels want us to learn of God.
And I think we sort of assume that they have like a way more complete knowledge of all of that stuff than we do, and I'm not sure that's true either. So I'm gonna, in some of the stuff I'm writing now, I'm gonna bring in like actual unfallen angel characters, and they're kind of in the dark too. They're not necessarily, they don't necessarily have like a straight T1 line to God. They're kind of on their own. They could be on their own too. Like just like demons are sort of stranded in the world, angels could be sort of stranded too.
They could be watching for the for their own revelation type. They don't know necessarily the story ahead of time.
I had a whole thing too for a story or some books that I was writing too, where I have another race of creatures called the tongues, which they're basically like these beings whose role is to be the mechanism for speaking in tongues. And they are basically they also are a race that part of them fell, and their fall because I'm basing this on like my own theological background. Like their fall basically happened when the sign gifts ceased, because our religious tradition is cessationist.
Yep.
So the sign gets ceased, and basically some fraction of these things basically didn't want to stop talking to people. So most of them were banished. Some of them still kind of hang around and do nonsense, and kind of have their own perverse schemes. But the good ones are kind of lurking, and their role, I think, is like they kind of are beings that can kind of connect across different realms, and they sort of are watching and waiting for the eschaton to sort of be a part of bringing up a kind of new world that's going to be birthed from sort of beneath the layers of all of these realms. So like the new heavens and the new earth is going to kind of like come up or be formed from this simulation that they're running in the deep. And so they but they're also kind of disconnected, right? Like their connection to God kind of also ended when the sign gifts ended. So they're kind of watching and waiting and have a kind of incomplete understanding of and they're kind of trying to do the best they can to help to help when they can see fit too.
I have a horrible thought, and I wonder if angels have their own version of getting into theology debates on Twitter.
They might.
Wouldn't that be extraordinary to witness?
Yeah, we usually sort of think of them because they are in our understanding of them. Their role is usually messenger. They are bringing us information.
Yeah.
We sort of assume that they have all the information,
but they don't. There's no reason to think that they have all of it, right? I mean, just because even if you're sort of a much more powerful being than us and you're in contact with God, that doesn't mean that you automatically know everything that he knows.
You could be evolving in knowledge and understanding.
Yeah, and even if you're not like mistaken or misguided, you can still not have a complete understanding of what's going on.
No, that's a very interesting line of thought. I'm just kind of processing that because I'm thinking, yeah, because I mean, well, it makes sense, you know.
It's fun to think about, right? There's been so much like spiritual theorizing and Christianity kind of taking cultures from around the world and their legends and myths and sort of saying, well, this was an angel, this was a demon, and fitting it into our context. That we have a lot of understandings and beliefs about things that we don't really have any revelation about in the Bible.
I have a mechanism too, and then after I talk about this, I'm going to shut up about my books. In my books too, basically, so the demons, they have this form that's kind of distinct from their soul, but both parts of them live in the ethereal plane, and they can't really be killed, but they can be injured. And part of the thing, like when a nomad is grievously injured, they can lose their memories, and the memories are like still there, but they're kind of like corrupted and they can't be immediately recovered. So a lot of them have kind of like, it's not even that they're necessarily, you could have like, say, good creatures or angels that they're not fallen, but they just don't have a complete memory of everything, you know.
A total understanding of
Yeah. And maybe they had it at one point, but they were injured and lost it.
Yeah, and mentions like angels reading minds. It's probably not a real thing, but like we have this idea that like the devil could put bad thoughts in your head or could read your mind and know stuff, you know.
Yeah, or you know, like maybe some of them can do that, but not all of them.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like that just because you know there's like humans have different abilities. I'm trying to see if I got this right. It doesn't seem like it seems like this should be nudged up a little bit, but I can't see where it went wrong.
Did I do it wrong before I handed it to you?
I think it's right.
Okay.
I think.
Can I look?
Sorry, I'm just looking at this stack of stuff. This looks. Oh, it's an extra plate here. I might have put that on. I'm not sure.
I think I did that part.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, all I was saying is that like we have kind of this list of, and this is kind of what I didn't like about the Frank Peretti stuff too, is it's like you had like even these little bitty demons kind of like putting thoughts in people's heads or stuff, and it's like, well, you know, maybe that's really only like the big demons in Frank Peretti stuff, all they were was just big. And they were in charge, but like there wasn't like a real reason for them to be in charge. And I think
other than sort of like a vague military idea.
Yeah, but why is that, right? Like it's not, these are creatures that are evidently just wandering the earth. I mean, why would some of them be in charge and some of them not be in charge? Well, because some of them are actually way more powerful. And, you know, they're bigger, they're harder to injure. Maybe they have like mind control abilities that other ones don't have. Maybe they're just straight up smarter. You know, have access to powers of destruction that other ones don't. You know, I feel like there can be a whole lot of really interesting stuff done that people just don't think about.
I'm partial to the screw tape letters interpretation. Or right, the tempters are like the ones that put thoughts into people's heads are like the field agents, but that's actually like not a prestigious career, and the goal is to be like a bureaucrat. Right, because that's screw tape, right? Is that he was a tempter, but now he's like some senior official that just like pushes papers around his desk, and he has a secretary, and he bosses other, right? I don't know. That feels like hell to me.
Well, and they might have different preferences too, right? You might have some of them that have certain abilities, but they would prefer to do something else.
Yeah.
Or
think of
or some of them like hanging around people and are just kind of content to just hang around a person and just hang out for a while, where other ones kind of want to do other things.
I am missing a curve piece.
I think of in the kind of an analogous setup in the Matrix, how Agent Smith's goal is to just be a machine again. He hates his job being an agent within the Matrix.
The Ultimate Kahuna mentions McCoppin's book. David actually hasn't read it. I did the editing for it. And my opinion about the spiritual warfare aspect is that it could have been tighter. But I mean, not spiritual warfare, but spiritual elements in general,
like the magic system, for a better word.
I think punching demons is always fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a book. So no complaints there. But I would have liked the idea of multiple denominations coming together to do this sort of battle to have been explored more.
Mm-hmm.
But
and I mean, like, that's in my stuff. That's one thing that I wanted to do, is like I wanted to tell a story that's kind of a mystery, like ordinary people kind of discovering how the magic system of the world works. And they kind of like, the characters get exposed to some nomads and they don't really know how to deal with them, and then they kind of find out there's still a lot of questions, and a lot of the people who are experts don't really even know all the answers, so there's that kind of mystery element to it. But not every story has to be like that,
right?
There's all different kinds of stories.
Yeah. Make sure I count these right.
Yes, Kahuna. Punching demons, shooting demons, cutting them in half with swords. These are all fun things to do.
Is this actually going to be the council's spot?
Why are we putting arches in the floor? Are things going to slide in there? Columns or something?
Might, yeah. Maybe yeah.
I still can't get over that map with the little printed star on it. That was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here go my
Yeah, there's a lot of nice little maps in the set. I'm trying to figure out what this one is. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
Is that Gondor?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know. You guys see? Try and get it in the focus.
Probably, right?
I think it must be.
Yeah.
It must be Gondor. Did I get something under?
No, it's just got a crease.
Okay.
From pulling it up over and over again.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You were talking.
The candles are great too.
Yeah, it's a kind of a new candle piece, actually. And you can use them both right side up or upside down. It's kind of cool. So they have an end that can go into holes that you can put the flame in, or you can put the flame in that end.
Cool. Oh yeah, there it is. I'm behind with my keeping up on.
I remember. I don't think it was actually it wasn't Lego. It was Playmobil. You guys remember? So when I was little, I had a Playmobil set that was like a pirate thing, and there's a skeleton holding like a spectral candlestick. It was like a ghostly candlestick.
Cool.
And that was something that always, like, the candles have a ghost. like why, right? Like why? But I don't know. It looked really cool because it was like this translucent blue, like, plastic piece, and looked really neat.
That's a idea that comes up. The idea of the realm of the dead being furnished with stuff.
Yeah.
Has it they have their own food and their own plates to serve it on, and
That's
Yeah.
something else that's missing from Frank Peretti's spiritual warfare books is
stuff.
the
The power of stuff.
the demons. They have swords, but like that's it. It's like, okay, so they're just sitting around there, just flying around. Like they don't make anything. They don't have any desire to, they don't have any desire to make anything. Evidently, they don't build anything. I just find that hard to believe.
Or the age-old, like the clothes that a ghost wears, right? Like
Mhm.
I always thought that it makes sense that a ghost would be wearing whatever clothes they had when they died,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's like the projection of the former life, or like an echo.
I like the as far as interesting systems, right? And mythology. And I'm going to be very, very vague here because I don't remember whose it is. But I want to say there's it's not really Korean. It's ancestral type tradition, but where like you can burn stuff to like give to the dead.
Yeah.
Or I know
that's a fairly common,
like Norse funeral pyres, like where they burn up the ship and like the
sure,
wives
yeah,
and stuff.
but like they do like
no, I think like
paper
the Mexican Day of the Dead, they that's like an older tradition of leaving out food.
Yeah, I think they have it crosses a lot of cultures.
It does,
that idea. But I've seen it in like creepy Korean drama horror stuff.
Or even like ancient Egyptians, right? Like a pharaoh would be entombed with his possessions and his slaves and everything, right? Because he's bringing it all with him into the afterlife. Yeah, so the same idea.
Yep. Boy, Patrick and why am I blanking here?
You really need sleep.
The Anarchist Bible Study. Josh. Iowa and Cap, they're going to be mad that they missed this one live because their theology discussion is their jam.
Well, they've read my book, so
so they know everything they need to.
Yeah, they know what I think about things.
I don't like just kind of like on that subject, and since it's Halloween time, I think there's another Exorcist out.
Yeah.
I've never been particularly interested in those. I haven't seen any of them. I have visited the house where the first Exorcist was filmed, or at least part of it.
Really?
Yeah, the famous ending scene. Yes, it's in Georgetown, Washington D.C. I did visit. I did go to that place once.
Huh.
Interesting.
But
yeah, that's a trope. I don't know, especially like little child gets possessed by a demon.
Yeah,
like we've done that.
Yeah, it takes all the fun out of it for me.
It's weird, and it's always the same stuff, like the same beats, the same, like even to the point where like you know, the physical contortions, the foul language, the weird, you know, like the body horror.
Yeah.
It's been like 40 years, guys. Like we can come up with something else at this point.
Yeah, I watched the first one for the first time in college.
That was
As
for a class, right?
yeah, I took it was an honors class. All of my honors classes were fun and made me graduate late because none of them were
Whoops.
worth anything. But it was on classic horror, and so I got it was a fun class, but we watched The Exorcist in parts in class, and it just wrecked me for a week.
It's a pretty scary movie, right?
It was intense, and like if it hadn't been about a kid, I wouldn't have even cared. Probably it was like
She plays with a Ouija board, right? Isn't that how it
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
is current events, because who some publication somehow just put out a thing about how to use Ouija boards, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was the New
uh
York Times, I think,
what
or
a
Post.
what an interesting
Yeah. If I remember correctly, it's one that they didn't even know they owned.
You'd think demons would have better things to do than just sit around and wait for people to get out a
No,
Ouija board.
that's what I've always thought too.
You know,
I'm like,
this is
how weird.
this is
Like,
just
so
my
what did they
thoughts.
do before someone invented? Because like they have a specific layout and a specific tile and a specific way that you're supposed to move it around. So like, what did the demons do before people came up with all that? Screw tape.
Yeah.
He's sitting, getting his bureaucrat check. Doing make work at the office. I don't know, but yeah, I've always thought that was. I mean, you know, but like whatever. I don't
Mhm.
know. I myself don't. I'm not interested in trying any esoteric experiments.
Right.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
My life has more than enough problems of a terrestrial nature. I don't need to invite any extra
Mhm.
dimensional.
Mhm. So one that I only watched within the last year because I saw it on Netflix was Constantine. I thought that was fantastic, right? Like Doug Wise said that the exorcism trope is like hard to get something new out of it, but I thought that was fun and did a lot of like punching, but also sort of some of your normal exorcism type stuff too. I thought it was interesting and way less nerve-wracking for me anyway.
Well, I think actually one of my favorite exorcism types thing that is put to film is the Italian British production Jesus of Nazareth, where it just portrays Christ healing the guy who is not the one who says we are legion, but the one before that in the temple.
Okay.
But the one we have, my son, he falls into the water, you know, he stumbles, right,
Yeah.
and it's a very well done scene, and I feel like it's true to what's described in scripture, and
Mm.
you know, yeah, the one where the demon says, "What does thou have to do with us?"
Mm-hmm.
And then Christ casts him out. I it's a well done scene and an overall excellent production in my opinion. So that's one that stands out in my mind as worth referencing.
Yeah. I think I hadn't seen like The Exorcist before college, but like I knew that you weren't supposed to screw around with stuff, right?
Yeah. I don't think I even really knew what a Ouija board was until like high school. Because
Yeah.
I just never heard of it. Like
Right.
no one I knew was ever interested in anything like that.
Yeah.
Crate
Voodoo.
says he prefers Luther's methods of exorcism, throwing things at the wall.
Isn't it Luther also says you should mock the devil? But you should literally just call him names and
Yeah.
he'll leave you. um One thing I did know, I actually, Katie, you talk about college. I remember when I took like a historical anthropology class, and we did a brief unit on voodoo, and we did like this overview of a voodoo practice in Haiti, and we saw like, yeah, we watched this video of like this voodoo ceremony, and I remember I was almost physically sick. It was so creepy to me and
Mhm.
freaky and weird and like something out of a movie, and like I never, I don't want to touch anything like this with a with a 10-foot pole.
Mhm.
I don't know, I don't consider like I don't have some sort of um I don't come to me for theological advice. Like I don't know technical how to, I just have my gut feeling, and like, man, like that there's just some stuff like, yeah, this not something that I would want to involve myself with in any way, just by looking at it.
So we just built something interesting here. I think the instruction book has something to say about it.
This particular build provides support for the central plinth. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
Of the council platform. It's always keeping an eye on the ring.
So they used the colors to make it look like the eye of Sauron.
We'll be covering it up. But
yeah, it's gonna be invisible, but
that's actually another interesting thing within Tolkien lore, is to what degree can Sauron affect, well, because part of Sauron exists within the ring, right?
Yeah.
And it's implied that the ring is something of its own consciousness and will.
It's a Horcrux.
but
I can't believe Tolkien ripped off J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Very egregious.
This is it's cute, but it's wrong, right? Because he couldn't see into Rivendell. That's that they said that they couldn't hide it in Rivendell.
Right.
But Rivendell was not something that he could see into.
Oh, there's a couple more tree pieces and stuff that we missed. We must
this must be.
Yeah, we must have skipped over a page.
Because he can somewhat detect where the ring is with magic, because he is the ring, right? Or the ring is him. That's why they also say, like, the ring will only ever truly answer to Sauron. No matter how powerful a person tries to use it, you'll always end up back as a ring wraith of some sort, because it can only answer to him because it is him.
Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding, yes. Oh, you built them both.
Uh-huh.
Those cute little glowing mushrooms.
It's not cute when it's the Witch King.
No. It's not cute when the lights are off. They're cute now. Just look at them. They're so cute.
Yeah, so believe it or not, this isn't even the whole middle section, because there is
another like strip here.
Yeah.
I think it's on this side.
Yeah, on this side.
Oh, this way. Okay, yeah. Yes, that. You're right.
But
okay, so you guys know, I'm sure, Modern Lego, they have this nice timeline along the bottom. This is where we are.
In this book.
In this book, yes. In
That's
this book.
amazing, though, that they printed a progress bar for you. But look, so what? That's like what? Is that even a quarter of the way?
Through this book.
Through this last book.
About, yeah.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Hey, is that Pippin holding a turkey leg on the right hand page there? What is that?
Carrot.
Oh, carrot. Okay.
Yep, and this one's got some lembas bread here. See the
Okay.
lembas bread?
Oh yeah, because it's on top of a leaf.
Yep.
Oh,
Cute.
that's awesome.
Cute. And the leaf is like one of the three. That's very nice. Very nice. Ultimate Kahuna, when he meant Tolkien, wrote The Hobbit, did he plan on the ring Bilbo found being the One Ring? Not at that time.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's kind of obvious from the text that.
Well, and he actually edited the section of it too.
Yep. I got my new History of the Hobbit book back here that I'm so excited about. That has the previous drafts. I'm excited about that. But yeah, he rewrote it for the one of the re-release type things just before the Lord of the Rings came out. So that it would be consistent, because Tolkien cared about that kind of thing.
He actually was going to rewrite the whole thing in a style that was more Lord of the Rings like, and wrote the first chapter. So
yeah, and he gave up.
But
yeah,
that would have been interesting.
It would.
That had ever come out. Kind of an anticlimactic thing to do, but but interesting.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I don't know. I like The Hobbit.
The Hobbit's your favorite, anyway.
The Lord of the Rings is epic, very cool, and I definitely love it. But it is a different kind of monster.
You can do way more Jungian psychologizing about The Hobbit.
Yo.
Don't you have that book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The Individuated Hobbit.
Yeah.
No way.
Look at this bullcrap.
I don't want to. The archetypes of. Oh man.
This one is. This is one of the like a pricey one. So this is a 1979.
I mean, I don't like being, just not dunking on people, but I mean, oh man.
Yeah.
Why does stuff like this have to be written?
Basically.
What is that picture? Oh yeah.
Basically, this book convinced me that Young was crazy. I was like, it would have been cool to talk about the archetypes, right? Archetypes of Middle Earth. That's why I was so excited about this book and to find it, because that kind of thing is interesting to me. But he spends most of this book talking about Young's symbols.
Well, and Young was like a big occult guy too.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Young has this. It's like called like the Red Book or something, which probably that book tries to make some connection between the Young's Red Book and the Red Book of Westmarch, just because. But yeah, Young's got this like Red Book that was like his occult study.
Yeah,
and all my opinion about occult stuff is it's just kind of dumb. And I don't like pre-Narnian, you described that voodoo ceremony thing you watched as like freaky. I've occasionally done research into like real occult stuff, and it just all seems dumb to me. Like it's just not compelling, weird and kind of sketchy at best, but not like I never think,
not like chills down your spine.
This
weird.
is beautiful, or this is scary, or this seems powerful. It's just all just weird nonsense. Yeah, like people go on and on about John Dee. It's like, have you ever like looked at how like what Enochian magic is? It's so just bizarre, like
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that score. The stuff that's written. People who like John Dee is really just interested in math and
Yeah.
just, but yeah, like, yeah, I've never looked into anything like that and have felt like, wow, this. Some people may know if they follow me closely on Twitter that I tend to get exasperated with esoteric this and that and the other,
Mhm.
that I find it, I do, like you say, I find it not compelling at all. And I get, this is a big Lewisian influence just for my part, where I'm like, yeah, that and then so like the stuff you want, the stuff, people being fanatic about stuff is what alarms me the most. But this, like the theory of it in of itself, like words on paper, is just, yeah, it's just odd and kind of boring for the most part.
Yeah, kind of incoherent, not too much structure to it
Yeah,
usually.
actually, it was funny. I know once someone asked H.P. Lovecraft like a letter to the editor saying like, why don't you reference real occult books? Why do you make up stuff like the Necronomicon? And Lovecraft replied, well, it's like, well, the truth of the matter is that the real occult is really boring
Yeah.
and unexciting, and so in order
Mhm.
for my stories to work, I have to make it up because
Yeah.
otherwise it would never.
It couldn't be compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like no one would want to read this. Otherwise,
It just that book in particular was trying to force two ideas together.
Mhm.
It spent a long time talking about how Jung wanted things to be in fours, squares.
Yeah, I got really excited because I was looking at that book and I was looking in the index, and the index there's an entry for quaternions.
Yep.
And quaternions are my favorite thing in the whole world. But it's not the math quaternions. It's like
Nope.
this just idea of things being in four.
Yep. And that was Jung's problem
Yeah.
with the Trinity.
Yeah.
Well, it ought to be four.
Hmm. Get over it, bitch.
Like, what? Okay.
yeah.
And stars. Fours and stars. And so
Actually,
they
I see a Doug Weiss has a good thing in the chat. Well, I never got what you're supposed to do with esoterium. What you're
Yeah.
supposed to do with it is that you feel you are one of the initiates.
Mhm.
You are the special enlightened one over the idiot masses, and you tell other people about it, and you are all very special together.
There's a really good channel on YouTube that when I was doing kind of research for my book, I and kind of like thinking about the religion that I was inventing, I watched a bunch of their videos. The guy's called the Modern Hermeticist, and I think something that's interesting about looking into that stuff is that there's like kind of a not clear division between like early science and early occult stuff.
sure.
So you can kind of, if you're interested in studying it, you could kind of study it with an eye to see how it kind of just influenced like early science and philosophy and religion
Mhm.
and stuff. But as far as, and he seemed to be like a practitioner of you know, esotericism, whatever you would call that. And like, no offense to him at all, because he's seemed like a very genuine guy, and like his content is really good, and I follow him on Twitter. But basically, what it came down to, as far as I could tell, is he basically does mushrooms.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's on the one hand, it's funny,
Because it's mushrooms.
because it's mushrooms. On the other hand, like I kind of get it, and I kind of take it seriously when people do that stuff, because like these mushrooms really do seem to do some pretty deep stuff to people mentally, and I don't know if you need to like go into the spiritual realm to explain what they do or anything
Sure.
like that. But I mean, I kind of get it. But I mean, that's kind of what a lot of this stuff seems to me as an outsider looking at it, is like, okay, we're just kind of grasping for something a bit deeper than everyday experience, and that's going to kind of lead us to this kind of historical gibberish and an excuse to do drugs. Which, I mean, if that's your thing, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say, hey, that's never okay and you're an idiot. But I am going to kind of laugh a little bit.
Doug Wise brings up the dark side of God is Jung's fourth side. He acknowledges that he says the Catholics have it more right because Mary's kind of fulfilling that fourth side.
Oh, jeez.
But then he like.
But then he also wants this dark side of God.
And then he throws that out and makes his own.
Yeah.
Fourth.
I remember reading somewhere someone saying that Jung very much disliked philosophers, particularly Kierkegaard, and I was like, what a win for Kierkegaard.
Yes.
Anne says, if someone says you need to take drugs to attain hidden knowledge, don't listen to them. They're on drugs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, and I mean, like, I'm not even gonna sit here and deny that you won't get, I'm not sitting here and saying that you won't get hidden knowledge from drugs, but I question the usefulness of that. Like, I don't sit in my life and be like, okay, well, what I really need to do is like to get over something or to answer some question, I need to take this mind altering substance that's going to really temporarily break down my higher level of cognitive function. I don't need that in my life, and I don't want it, and I don't think that it would do anything good for me, whether or not it was I thought it was a spiritual act or not.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually kind of like what you said with the spirits earlier. Is that maybe even if you get some sort of true knowledge, that it's not the whole picture.
Yeah.
Like, it might just be a piece of the puzzle that really doesn't mean anything to you, right? Like,
yeah.
Or to go down like a Lovecraftian trail, like maybe you get hidden knowledge and you're just left crazy, right?
Well, and that's kind of what I think a lot of that stuff is personally is, like when you just understand how our brains work. Our brains do so much filtering and parsing and assembling. Like even like if you just sit and like think about the sort of raw input of your senses, you will start going crazy. Like I personally, I do this with my eyesight, and I would not recommend that anybody do this, but like if you start thinking about like what you're actually seeing out of each eye and thinking about like how your brain is integrating it together.
Well, we're all word people, so everybody's stared at a word for too long and been like, there's no way.
But
like,
even
you can do that over anything.
Even like, just at a lower level, like how your eyes focus, how you see shapes and colors, and how a lot of that stuff is very relative. Like under different lighting conditions, your vision changes and how you feel throughout the day.
Like
it's like
that dress that was all the rage for a while.
Black and blue versus white and gold dress is a great example of that. So it's like I don't really think that taking substances that basically shut down all of that function. I mean, okay, so maybe I get at the root of some really low level function of my brain, like that just doesn't seem useful. It's just, like we're built the way we are for a reason, and I don't,
Yeah. I've never liked the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never liked the idea of just being out of control of myself in that way. Like I've never not been sober in my entire life because like I don't know, I just it doesn't appeal to me to surrender my faculties.
I want to be more in control of my faculties, right? I want to be not less.
Thus the usefulness of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that stuff really operates on that continuum so much, but yeah, I mean, it's like I don't have a desire to lose control. I always want more control of myself. I hardly ever think, oh, I want less control.
Yep. I meant like focus.
Yeah.
You get that that ability to focus more. But yeah, I can do stupid stuff and be clumsy on my own. I don't need help from
Yeah, Doug Wise has a good comment. You can look at the machine code, but it doesn't mean you know anything new. And that's a great way to look at it. Like we're operating in a very high level space. You can break it down, but it's like, what are you going to see? It's just going to be a bunch of. It's going to look like nonsense.
That's 1984 when Winston Smith has the system spelled out for him, and then he realizes that he already knew everything about how it all worked. Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's like you're another analogy would be, like you're enjoying a video game and you press pause and you dump the RAM of your console out and you plot it as a big image, right? It's not going to look like anything. It's going to look like a giant blob because all of the meaning of it is in the process, all the processes that are running and putting it together to something useful.
But you'll feel like you had an experience.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have the worst hangover ever.
Well, maybe that's the knowledge. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
fun conversation.
We went into some deep territory tonight. It's like...
Yeah, this was a good one.
It was fun.
I think we've scared pretty much everybody away at this point. So.
And Crate Spoon and Doug Wise are still with us.
Yep.
Jam with our crazy.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming, and we'll do this again soon.
Yeah.
I think we made some good progress today because we went from basically just this part here being blank, to this whole thing. So we got to keep going. I mean, we're getting close. I want to finish this before the end of the year.
That would be good.
There's some other really good sets that have come out this year that I want to build, and I don't want to buy any of them until we're done with this one.
Well, thanks for the stream, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming.
No, thanks for always the open door where I just slip in.
Thank you to
thanks
the chat.
to the chat.
Yeah.
Always...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's always fun to see what other people are thinking about.
Yeah.
Our topic of conversation.
Yep, and it's always just gives us a lot of joy to be able to fire up a live stream like this and have people hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. We don't have a lot of friends in real life that we can have this kind of conversation with, just in an evening. So it's fun, and that goes for everybody in the chat and Free Narnia and everybody. So we really appreciate it.
All right, you guys have a great night, and tomorrow 7:30 on my channel is the Fear of Moncroy live book discussion with me, Royce from A Drink with Crazy, John A. Douglas, and TJ Markey. It'll be fun. All right. Have a good night.
See ya.
Night, everyone.